Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right. Hello, and welcome to The Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Ready for some nerd alert?
Let's do it. We're back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob and, of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
I like an extra helping of nerdery today.
Oh, coming right up. All right, let's just jump into it. As always, I'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week, I watched an event put on by ThinkBox called The New Business Case for Advertising. Work also has a great article to summarize this event called Beyond Brand versus Performance, the Three Dimensions of Effectiveness. Now, I'd like to give a quick disclaimer that this is not academic research, so this hasn't been peer-reviewed. It's a study, and I'm going to talk about who it comes from, but just so we're clear, this one is not an academic paper.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I know we were curious, Rob. I'm just trying not to get us in trouble, okay? That's all I'm trying to do. So this came up because this recorded event was passed around the agency, and it revolved around a new study called Profitability 2. This study brings together the econometric databases from Ubiquity, Essence MediaCom, Gain Theory, Mindshare, and Wavemaker to create what they call the most comprehensive analysis of advertising effectiveness to date. AKA, this is the study of my dreams. I'm a massive nerd, so bear with me here. They examined 1.8 billion pounds of media spend across 141 brands and 14 categories. They looked at 10 media channels, and this study is unique because they looked at the years 2021 to 2023. The previous study of this scale was published 7 years ago in 2018, so this is a significant update because a lot has changed since then, and marketers, understandably, have questions about how all of our technological advancements and societal changes, least we forget we went through a pandemic in there, have affected how advertising delivers business growth. So Rob, let me take us back to 2018 for a moment. That was the year South Korea hosted the Winter Olympics. In November of 2018, Russia escalated tensions with Ukraine when they seized 3 Ukrainian vessels in the Sea of Azov. It was the year of the Me Too movement, and the year Apple, you'll like this one, became the first public company to achieve a market cap of $1 trillion. Today, there are 5 of those companies.
That was quite a year.
I forgot how much happened in 2018. It was a crazy year. But Rob, a lot has changed since 2018. How much do you think advertising effectiveness has changed?
We had that little thing called the pandemic, which forced D2C to really go into overdrive. And I think it really increased the ability to measure and to look at the effectiveness in advertising. It almost became even more mainstream to go really deep into the weeds and understand where customers were coming from, what those conversion rates were, what lifetime value was. I think it's actually increased quite a bit.
So you'd be probably wrong, but that's okay.
Really?
So what the study found is that there hasn't been like a seismic shift in advertising effectiveness, which surprised me. You'd think like a lot has changed since then. But yeah, it has gradually changed, like along with media consumption. But as far as how effective advertising is, how it works, it's stayed pretty steady. So
that really surprises me.
Yeah, me too.
Although I'm still trying to process how they reviewed 1.2 billion pounds of media. It took me a while to realize they weren't talking about the weight of the media. That was a currency.
I know, me too. Us Americans, I'm like, what the heck? Why isn't this in US dollars? Why isn't everything just in our currency? That's like when people don't use our metric system. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
None. But so that's a pretty interesting piece of information. That's just one piece I wanted to chat about today. The study also found that advertising is a profitable driver of business growth, but that profitability varies greatly by sector, like retail versus automotive versus financial services. And I'd encourage everyone to go watch this, download the report. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and we definitely don't have time to go through it all. I want to talk about the 3 dimensions they found impact advertising profitability. Those are scale, efficiency, and time. The people who covered this were Jane Christian, who's the Managing Director of Analytics and Insights at Essence MediaCom UK, Dom Charles, who's the managing director of audience intelligence and marketing science at Wavemaker UK, Nick Piertisma, group director, marketing effectiveness UK, Ubiquity. They presented these 3 dimensions, and I'm obsessed with them. But before we jump into that, why should we be interested in new quote unquote dimensions of advertising? What's wrong with the good old brand versus performance? So, Rob, how do you feel about our traditional categorization of marketing into just those brand and performance buckets?
I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of people carry baggage with those terms, thinking, oh, brand advertising is all about self indulgent work and performance is all about down and dirty DR at the expense of brand. But I think they both are still very critical pillars to a successful ad campaign. I think we try to get fancy and call them different things at different times just so they don't get labeled as brand or performance. But at the end of the day, we are in the business of driving results and building brands.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You are saying that like brand and performance have been useful, but you've seen marketers kind of branch out beyond it a little bit.
I think the intent of those 2 words is still at the heart of, but people have put their own meanings into them, and sometimes they become bad words. But I think at the end of the day, that is what we're looking to deliver as marketers, is both a healthy brand recall, building that brand value, and also delivering sales. That is our job.
You're very aligned with them then. They would agree with you that they've been useful groupings, but driving value, it's probably more nuanced than simply brand versus performance. And certain channels fit into both. So, like you're saying, if you see certain channels as one or the other, or you kind of use words like performance and brand almost as weapons, it can be damaging to the real purpose of a marketing channel. So, they propose these 3 new dimensions to look at marketing through, which is scale, efficiency, and time. Scale asks, how big of an effect do we want to generate with our advertising? Efficiency is all about a channel saturation point. So that helps you plan to the point of diminishing returns so you can maximize the amount of payback from each channel in your media mix. And time looks at the short, medium, and long-term payback timeframes. So channels, they can differ in their payback, and you might be surprised by which channels offer short and long-term payback. Before we dig into all of those dimensions, I don't know about you, Rob, but I was immediately confused by the difference between scale and efficiency. They sounded the exact same to me, so I spent some time trying to understand it. Scale in advertising refers to the size of the impact you aim to achieve with your campaign. So if you're starting off, you're like, all right, how big of an effect do I want to have? I think you'd want the biggest effect possible, but that's scale. Efficiency measures how effectively you use your budget to reach that impact without wasting resources. Let's dive in then. We'll start with scale. When you're thinking about how big of an effect you want your advertising to drive, you have to understand scale, because generally the scale of advertising increases profit effects until, of course, it doesn't. Understanding scale matters because scale differs significantly across different channels. One channel might have a high ROI, but your potential for scaling it might be low, which is why ROI alone is not a super helpful metric, because the best way to have a super high ROI is just to spend less on your advertising, which eventually it's going to be worth it to spend more to get more scale, even though your ROI goes down. So linear TV, no surprise, is the best channel for scale by far. But channels like online display have a strong ROI at first, but they quickly reach those diminishing returns, which again, I think makes sense. So let's move on to efficiency, which we know is linked to scale. We can plot the saturation point for each channel to the point where the last dollar spent generates at least $1 of profit. So no surprise again, linear TV hits saturation at the highest spend level. It's nearly 3 times the equivalent scale of the next largest channel. So Rob, linear TV, that's the winner as far as I can spend the most on linear TV and still get the greatest return. Can you guess the second and third best channels for efficiency? So what other channels do you think you can spend a lot on before you reach a point that they're not profitable?
Well, I'm going to go with the old standby of radio, and there's got to be something in the digital channel still. I'm going to go with...
It's not digital.
Well, then just... So I got radio. Radio and print.
You got it. Yeah, it's print. Okay. Print actually beats radio. It goes linear TV, print, radio. Yeah.
Still buy print? People still buy magazines?
Yeah, of course, Rob. Although it kind of varies by category how effective it is. But yes, like overall, print is number 2.
Wow.
So it goes linear TV, print, radio, then cinema, out of home, broadcast, video on demand, generic search, online video, online display, and then paid social.
Cinema?
Yes.
Wow.
I know, that's surprising. But what surprised me, even more than cinema, honestly, is paid social took last place. Like, who knew that paid social would be behind display? Isn't that odd?
That's crazy.
I agree. That was a weird one for me. But let's move on. We're going to wrap things up with time. So they define 3 buckets of advertising payback: immediate, which means you get profits within a week; carryover, you get profits in a quarter; and sustained, which means you get profits in a year. That's where we really start to see the challenges with these brand and performance buckets, because linear TV, which is often seen as a brand channel, is right up there with generic search and paid social for immediate payback. Online video, out of home, and cinema are ranked closer towards the bottom. Then for carryover, which is that quarter metric, linear TV leads the way, followed by generic search. And finally, for our sustained bucket, linear TV absolutely crushes it. Obviously, it has those great long-term effects. And general paid search and paid social are close behind. So, Rob, I was surprised by a few of these findings, and they sort of challenged my current beliefs about channel effectiveness. I was shocked to see online video rank lower for immediate payback, but higher for like that carryover. And generic search driving effects across a quarter also really surprised me. So, what about you? Anything that stood out there? Any surprises?
I'm still in shock over print. I'm still in shock over cinema. I need to see this study now and better understand how they came to those conclusions, because it just seems counterintuitive.
I looked at this for a long time. They have some beautiful charts, which I love. I love a chart. So if anyone's interested, you could just go stare at it. Color coordinated by channel. It's exactly what I mean. I should also say, we just talked about like profitability of marketing channels. This does vary by category. So for example, large retailers experience much greater sustained advertising effects than financial services. What do you know? And also, one cool thing about the study is when they mapped all the channels, all of them were actually profitable. So we sometimes pit marketing channels against each other. They're all working, like they're all driving profits for marketers, which is great. It's just, what are you going to use for which situation? And that's where I think they're proposing, like when you're looking at all your channels, if you're just grouping them in the brand and performance bucket, you're not going to be able to plan very well. So you should consider these 3 different buckets. And Rob, I tried to summarize this with our Rob GPT, but I wasn't really happy with the results. It was so intense. So I'm hoping that I did.
GPT?
Yeah, it was like, no, I'm not. It's getting lazy on me. It's like, I don't want to help you.
We're giving her all she's got, Captain, but I can't help you on this one.
Yeah, I think because it was mostly charts. It's just like, ChatGPT doesn't do well with that. But anyways, what did you think about those 3 new dimensions of effectiveness?
I like them. I keep feeling like the marketing community continues to try to put new lenses on stuff that at the end of the day, I think it still comes down to, are we building a brand and are we driving sales? But I like them. I think they're good. It feels like more vernacular for us to wrestle with.
I sort of wish they would have found a better way to explain them. Like scale, efficiency, and time are so boring. Like maybe we could have come up with.
It sounds like a physics class.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, maybe we should let's rebrand it to drive some better performance or something. Because I was forgetting it even before like reading it again. I'm like, what are those again?
Yeah,
they spell out set. I don't know. There needs to be something. We need more to remember.
I agree. It should rhyme.
We'll get on that. I'm sure they'd appreciate that feedback. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Ayana Claphockey for producing the show and Taylor De Los Reyes for editing. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you find the show valuable, please leave us a rating and review. And if you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. It's built for marketers seeking research-first analysis of the latest trends. You can go to marketingarchitects.com/newsletter to subscribe. Now go forth and build great marketing. I have like throat monsters happening right now. So
whatever that is.
No, it's like, like you're just gurgly.
Yeah.
It's like a throat monster.
Yeah. I got you.